From Washington, this is VOA News. Coming up, a secession vote in eastern Ukraine, deadly car bomb during the Afghan presidential campaigning. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Norman. Organizers of Sunday's independence referendum in the eastern Ukrainian region of Donetsk say 89% of those casting ballots voted in favor of splitting from Ukraine. There's no information yet on results from Luhansk, the other eastern region that held an independence referendum on Sunday. Central Ukrainian government in Kyiv called the voting a criminal farce. European countries and the United States also denounced the election. We get more now from VOA's Michael Bowman.
Referendums went forward Sunday in eastern Ukraine despite widespread statements condemning the votes as illegal and illegitimate. Adding to the tension, no sign Russian President Vladimir Putin is making good on last week's promise to withdraw troops from the Ukrainian border, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel.
Well, they're not leaving, as far as we can tell. You have to ask President Putin as to why he says they're leaving and when, in fact, they're not.
Sanctions imposed by the United States and its NATO allies do not appear to have altered Moscow's aggressive posture towards Ukraine. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
French President François Hollande is calling on African leaders to meet in Paris later this week for a summit on how to deal with Boko Haram. The group kidnapped more than 300 Nigerian schoolgirls. That happened last month in an act of terrorism that has outraged the world. Some of the girls managed to escape their captors. This girl said, "We saw some other girls jumping from the truck, so we jumped off too. We knew the men would kill us if we didn't run away." Boko Haram is still holding 276 schoolgirls. The militants have mocked their parents, threatening to sell the girls on the human trafficking market. Also in the news, police in Yemen say a suicide bomber detonated a vehicle filled with explosives. At least 12 officers outside a police building in the country's south were killed. Meantime, in the capital Sana'a, the Interior Ministry says 3 gunmen were killed after attempting an attack on a presidential guard checkpoint. 2 attacks appear to be in reprisal for an army operation to drive al-Qaeda out of the southern provinces of Abyan and Shabwa. Maritime tensions dominated a meeting in Southeast Asian leaders on Sunday, with Vietnam calling on its neighbors to support in their territorial dispute with China. Tensions rose last week following China's controversial decision to move an oil drilling rig into waters claimed by Hanoi. In a final statement on Sunday, leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations expressed concern and called for restraint by all parties involved in the maritime disputes. ASEAN, which appeared unwilling to risk antagonizing China, also said it was satisfied with talks on the issues. Authorities say a suicide car bombing in southern Afghanistan killed at least 5 people, wounded about 40 others, including some soldiers. Ayaz Gul reports.
The deadly attack occurred in Kandahar province, one of the violence-hit southern Afghan regions where Taliban insurgents routinely carry out such attacks. An Afghan army vehicle was said to be the target of the suicide bombing, in which mostly civilians were killed or wounded. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack.